In this video, I'm going to do an example where I graph a tangent function that has a period change and a phase shift. Looking at this function, the first thing we need to do is rewrite it, factoring out this 2 here. So what I'm going to write inside of my innermost parentheses will be what I get when I divide this term by 2 and this term by 2. So inside the parentheses, I'm going to have x minus pi over 8. So again, this pi over 8 comes from doing pi over 4 divided by 2, or multiplying pi over 4 by 1/2. And now we're ready to figure out the period of the function. So we are going to take pi and divide it by 2 because of this 2 right here, giving us a period of pi over 2. Now to get our phase shift, we are going to look inside of our innermost parentheses here, and what's happening to our x is we are subtracting a pi over 8 from it. So the subtraction is going to force us to move right, and then we are going to do so this many units. So our phase shift will be right pi over 8 units. Now, looking back at the problem, they ask us to graph this function on the interval of 0 to pi, which means that we know that this last scale mark here needs to be pi. So looking at the scale marks here, I have a large scale mark at every pi over 4 units, and then I have small scale marks at the odd multiples of pi over 8. So that means that my scale marks will accommodate my phase shift very nicely. So all I need to do is write in my number labels, and I am only going to do that at every pi over 4 units because otherwise my graph will just be too busy to see my points clearly. Now that I have the numbers for my scale, I am ready to start plotting some points. The points I'm going to start off with would be the points of the function without the phase shift. So I'm going to start off with a point right here at the origin, of course. And then my next point is going to be right here at pi over 8, 1. And then at pi over 4, I'm going to have my asymptote because that's halfway through the period. And then here at 3 pi eighths, I'm going to have a y value of -1. And then my next y value is 0. And after that, we have a y value of 1. And then we have another asymptote going through x equals 3 pi over 4. And then we have a y value of -1. And finally, we have a y value of 0. And the reason I have not connected any of these points, and I don't plan to, is because we are about to shift everything to the right pi over 8 units, and so it would make my graph really difficult to translate if I connected all of my points. So now I'm just going to take every point and scoot it over to the right pi over 8 units, giving this point a new location right here. And I'm going to go ahead and erase this point right here because I don't need it anymore, and it will help me keep track of what I've shifted. And then this point's new location will be right here. And then my asymptote will be going through right here at 3 pi eighths. And then when we shift this point to the right, it will end up right here. And then this point will end up right here. And this point will shift to here. And then the asymptote will move to here. And then this point will shift to here. And then looking at our last red point here, when we shift that to the right pi over 8 units, it goes outside of the interval they've asked us to graph on. So we actually are just going to erase that point altogether. And you may feel like we're ready to connect and we are all done with our work here, but we are not, because we're supposed to graph on the interval of 0 to pi, and we don't have anything going on here where x is equal to 0. So we need to use what we know about the tangent function to figure out what is going on when we plug in 0. Well, if you look at the behavior of the function, looking to the right over here, we should expect that when we plug in 0, we're going to get a -1. And you can always check your work by plugging a 0 into the function and making sure that you do in fact get -1. But I assure you that's what you will get, and we will go ahead and plot that point. And now we are ready to go ahead and connect our points. And here's the result.